I have a sound platform in terms of how to deal with that. I'm not here to cut services. I'm here to protect services. I'm not here to close city facilities. I'm going to keep the Crystal Pool open. I don't refer to the Crystal Pool as a non-essential service. That is an essential service from my standpoint. I want to keep it open. I've got an action plan for pulling our finances together, and it's critical that we deal with this now. Because if we don't, it's going to get much worse. In summary, my vision is a city that has its cake and can eat it too. And believe me, we can. We just need to spend the money more wisely. We can no longer afford to spend $6 to $8 million buying a couple of Travelers Inns and finding that we can only house 36 people in them. That's $200,000 per person. We can do much better than that. Open Victoria wants our city, Victoria, to realize its true potential, and it isn't realizing it right now. We can do a lot better if everyone pulls together. If everyone is part of this and decisions are no longer made behind closed doors, we can do better. We must do better. Open Victoria will do better. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Steve Filipovic, and I'm running for Mayor of Victoria to provide the residents of Victoria a genuine opportunity to win real change. I'm a small business owner running Filipovic Residential Services here in Victoria for the past 25 years. I focus on building fences and decks through the summertime and doing renovation work through the wintertime. So I know housing, and I know we're paying far too much for it here in this region. I'm also a community advocate, working with activist groups in Victoria. I have sat on many boards, but my greatest contribution has been through the work with the Earthwalk Committee. In partnership with VIDEA, Victoria International Development Education Association, we organize an annual event, Earthwalk, which involves a participatory parade and an environmental fair that showcases roughly 40 different cause-oriented nonprofit groups that are championing various issues both locally and globally in our city. And this has given me the understanding of all or a lot of issues that we're facing together as a community and helped me win the endorsement of Monday Magazine in 2008. I have run twice in municipal elections, both times coming in third place, only being beaten by the two large money campaigns that dominate our local politics. Our little money campaigns have been slowly eroding their lead that these groups have, with more and more people realizing and getting wise to our situation that they're realizing that we need real change. Our democracy is in crisis. Only 1 in 4 people vote municipally. And I think that's because of the uneven playing field. No truly independent person has ever won. So no matter what happens, we always get the same old, and I'm hoping to be the one to change that. Our democracy is in crisis, and crisis is an opportunity. If you recognize that the vast majority of Victorians are not being served by our present status quo government here in Victoria, then I would encourage you to do a little networking and talk to your friends and neighbors and bring them in on November 19th. Have a breakfast party. And talk about voting. Start conversations with your friends and neighbors and bring them in on election day. Voting is the least you can do for your democracy. Campaigning is where it's at. If you feel strongly about a change that you would like to see, campaigning for that change vigorously will increase the likelihood of that change taking place. And this is one of the things we can all do to improve our democracy. Another thing we can do to improve our democracy is to challenge the media. An active and honest media is imperative for a democracy to thrive. Balanced reporting showing some of the many facets that every issue has is important to people who are trying to formulate their opinion. We don't have that, and we haven't had that for a long time. We now have corporate-controlled media, and they don't print anything that may slow down mindless consumption of goods and services. When George Bush announced after 9/11 that the way to help your country was to go shopping, my heart sunk. We are consumers, not citizens, and that has to change. We have to become citizens again. And we have to challenge the media. We are human beings, and we learn about our world, and we make small changes in that world. And if we don't know the truth, then we can't make those small changes. The changes I would like to see, firstly, are more equity-gaining housing opportunities for working families in Victoria. We should be encouraging people who are in high-rent situations to form groups with other people in similar situations. Putting their resources together, they can easily afford mortgages. And the city can do a lot of things to help remove the burdens or the barriers to home ownership and facilitate with bylaw changes, making it easier for them to renovate their homes to suit their needs. We should also stipulate that new developments, or a certain percentage of the new developments, be rent to own, allowing people to get in with less of a burden of a down payment. Another change I would like to see is that the city own up to the BC Supreme Court ruling that clearly showed that Victoria doesn't supply reasonable services to those on our streets. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees us all the right to reasonable services, and Judge Madam Ross made it very clear that a service is not reasonable if by using that services you are subject to crime, disease, or overcrowding, or strange rules, like being locked in. We spend an average of $55,000 per homeless person not giving them shelter. That's police costs, cleanup costs, healthcare costs, as colds become pneumonia. Shelter for most people is valued at less than $10,000 a year, and for someone who needs special assistance, it's $28,000 a year. Both those options save us a bundle of money. Our country is said to spend over $9 billion a year dealing with the problems around poverty, when poverty can be addressed for $4 billion a year. So that's something to think about. I stand for common sense and an open democracy and accountable public service. We recognize that we've needed freedom of information in the 70s. We fought for it in the 80s, we won it in the 90s, and we still don't have it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dean Fortin. I'm running for re-election as Mayor of Victoria. I'd like to start out by recognizing that we are in the traditional territories of the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Haichka, welcome. Welcome everyone to this mayoral debate. It has been a great honor to serve this community over the past 3 years, and thanks to the people of Victoria, strong team of city councillors, we've accomplished a lot over the past 3 years. We're excited about the progress that we've made. We've built affordable housing and are addressing homelessness. We've increased public transit. We continue to work on climate change initiatives, knowing that that is still important. And we work with local businesses to make sure that our downtown is vibrant, active, and safe. We're making City Hall more open and accessible than it's ever been. Over the past 3 years, we have brought in a civic governance review. We've brought in a civic engagement review. A good example is our official community plan. We've engaged more than 6,000 people over the last 18 months, talking to them about how their city is going to look over the next 20 to 30 years. Everything from meeting in coffee shops and at crystal pools, having mocktails down at the Crystal Gardens, meeting with 600 students here at Vic High. Opportunity to get out and meet and talk to people. We've expanded the Mayor's Open Door from once a month to twice a month. And then we realized that it's also important to get out and meet people where they are, whether it be Crystal Pool, down in Cook Street, senior centers. Continuing to make sure that our government is open and responsible as much as we can be according to the law. I am worried about these priority areas. We need to keep going. Now is not the time to say, we've done great work on homelessness, we can ease back. Now is not the time to say, it's an economic downturn, we can't afford to do environmental issues. We need to keep these areas going forward. We also need to recognize that we are in challenging times, and we must implement our economic development strategy to generate jobs, to make sure that we can continue to build a city that is fiscally, socially, and environmentally strong. I look forward to doing all of that with you over the next 3 years as we continue to work forward. I did want to take a minute before we start to get into some of the issues, and there's many issues. You'll have them in our brochures, things that we're proud on. Bringing down social disorder in the streets by 26%. Creating more than 800 units of housing for the hard to house for seniors, continuing over the last 3 years, working with our partners in the Coalition to End Homelessness and helping to find more than 1,500 spaces housing those less fortunate than us. But I thought I should probably spend a little bit of time to let you know who I am. I do live in Fernwood with my wife and my 2 children. I am a kid from Kamloops, worked in sawmills and gas stations and served beer. I've been known to have a beer once and twice myself. Came down to UVic, went to UBC. That campus was bigger than my whole city, somewhat frightening for a young guy, so UVic was just perfect. Over the years, I've worked with street youth, helped working with a group that's now known as the Youth Empowerment Society, helped that get going, and then spent 17 years as the director at the Burnside Gorge Community Center, working with homeless families, establishing childcare and daycare, establishing youth programs, and making sure there was good recreation programs for seniors and young people throughout. I've done community service. I've been a board member with the Law Centre here, the BC Benefits Appeal Board, Burnside Community School, understanding that these are all important things for my community and I. And I continue to coach. I've always enjoyed coaching, whether it be mini rugby, which is kind of fun, soccer, and now I continue to coach night league on Thursday nights and Sunday nights. That's a little bit of who I am, a little bit, because we make thousands of decisions over a term. Not all of them end up on brochures. Not all of them end up on issue sheets. It's important that you know and support the type of person that you want to be making those decisions, recognizing that sometimes things could come forward that you don't have any control over. I do want to, and I assume I still got a minute left, address some of the issues that have been raised here, and I think we'll put it out. Over the past 18 months, we have been out talking to our communities. We have done budget consultations at Crystal Pool, at senior centres, at coffee shops, in malls. We've gone out and been talking about the issues and the challenges that we have forward. It's one of those ones that even, a year and a half ago we mentioned that we have an issue around the Crystal Pool. So it's always somewhat surprising when someone said, oh my goodness, you've sprung it on us in the last 2 weeks. When 18 months ago you can actually go back to the front page of the Times Colonist and say, yes, they were bringing those issues and items up. I will say that I'm looking forward to the opportunity to directly correct the incorrect information about budget cuts. I will ask people that it's probably important that they read their financial statements a lot clearer. Thank you very much. Looking forward to probably more detail from the questions from the crowd. Thank you.